Hello everyone, my name is Soraya. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about twin flame love at first sight. Is it real or is it a fantasy in the mind? I feel like this is a really important topic. I remember when I first met my twin flame, this was like the biggest thing I was wondering personally was like, am I making this up in my head? Like, do I have some kind of an attachment here? Like, am I like wanting to see something there? Because I study psychology. Like I went to college for psychology. I've always been interested in psychology, and for many years I've just been very interested in it. And so I knew about projection, and I knew about how like people can have like a lot of distortions around romantic interest. And I was like, is this just in my head? Like, am I crazy? And I know that so many people feel this way. I know this because I talk to twin flames all the time, and it is something that like a lot of people question. They're like, first of all, never had this experience before, so there's no context for it. And secondly, like, is this something that it's like the mind is just fixated and it's like a type of an attachment, or is there something really real to this? And if there is, that's an important thing to find out, because like, is this my twin flame? Is this something that's very real and substantial, or is this something that's passing through? Because like everybody goes through like the honeymoon phase and like a new relationship, or they're kind of getting to know somebody, and everything feels really good at first, but over time you get to know that person deeper and you realize that you're not actually compatible, or that you're not really on the same page, and that maybe you weren't really seeing this person clearly for who they are because of the projections and because of that early vibe of a new relationship. So it's an important thing to talk about. So how do you know? um, you know it really kind of comes down to the fact of kind of what I was pointing to, is that a fantasy and a projection, it's in the mind, and there is an attachment element to it. So if you want to see, like let's say that you really want to be in a relationship really badly, you're going to be far more inclined to see any person as a potential romantic interest. You're going to be more inclined to tell yourself a story about that person without having, a real experience with that person. And the mind will tend to kind of create a whole story around it. And that is when you're kind of getting into that projection and that fantasy stuff. With twin flames, it's different. I've talked about this before with intimacy with twin flames, how twin flame intimacy, you don't create it, you reveal it. It's already there. So what you experience with your twin flame that's a bit different than that projection fantasy experience is that with your twin flame, it's like there's a resonance that's very deep in your soul. And it's not something that the mind really has anything to do with. It's not saying that your mind doesn't have like an opinion, like the mind might have thoughts about it, but the mind doesn't create this experience. It's really a revealed experience, and it's on a very deep soul level. It's in your feelings and it's in your soul. And it's not in like the superficial up and down moods that you have. I'm talking about like that feeling experience of resonance in your soul. This can be really hard to identify when you first met your twin flame, because again, you've never really had this experience before. And so something that I can kind of give some examples of things that kind of have this kind of resonance, to kind of show you what I mean here. So when you're doing something where you're like in a flow state and when you're really in alignment with your soul, if you've ever like gotten lost in an activity because it was so much joy for you, it could be playing a game, it could be a hobby, it could be playing an instrument if that's something that you're interested in, it could be having a conversation with a dear friend, it could be doing something with your life purpose. That's huge, is really that really hits you in that soul level place, but where it just flows for you. There's this sense of just resonance with what you're doing. You feel like you're with God in what you're doing. When you're with your twin flame and you're discovering who your twin flame is, or when you're starting to experience that connection with them, it's not going to be like connecting with any other person. It's going to be more like connecting with yourself. It's going to be that feeling of, wow, this is really hitting me in a deep core place. I remember the first time that I met my twin flame, I just remember like looking into his eyes and I was like, oh my God, like he sees me. Like he sees me. Like I felt so seen in my soul. I didn't know how to describe it, but it was just this like, oh my God, like he gets it. Like he understands me. He's not just like nodding his head and like saying like, oh yeah, I get it because of blah, 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 blah. There was no story attached to it. It was just like an awareness that was just there. And so that's really how, like, that's how twin flames are experienced. It's, you don't want to see a connection there. You're not looking for anything. You're not trying to fill in the gaps and tell yourself a story about this person. You're not attached to it being them and not someone else. Like, you're very open and very peaceful about it. But at the same time, you're just like, wow, like I really resonate with this person. And what can be kind of, just like a little like side point to this is that soulmates can sometimes feel like this at first. The reason can be because soulmates vibrate with you for a time. That's why we call them soulmates, because they're like your mate in life. It's not just a romantic, it's never actually a romantic person. Your romantic partner will always be your twin flame and your soul. But a soulmate could be a friend, it could be a pet, it could be a family member, it could be anybody. But basically you just resonate with a soulmate for a time and then you go your separate ways. So you may have had relationships in your past where you were very intimate and very close with someone for a long time. And then you kind of just like either outgrow each other or kind of just your life just naturally takes you in different directions. And you can try to make it work, but you're naturally flowing apart. That's kind of how soulmates work. And so soulmates, you could be with a soulmate for a long period of time before that natural growing apart thing happens. But with your twin flame, it's going to be there forever. So when I'm talking about this resonance, it is possible that you can feel a level of that with a soulmate. It's not going to be as deep as what you feel with a twin flame, because I've felt both. It's very different in that sense. But if you've never met your twin flame and you don't have that to compare it to, a soulmate can seem like that is what it is. And so that is where you really want to reveal who your true twin flame is. So, I'm kind of pointing out, like, don't get caught up in the mind, don't get caught up in the story and the attachment, but instead really go within and feel into your soul and your resonance. That is really the first step, but to know who your twin flame is completely, test it thoroughly. Very scientific with Jeff and Shalia's work. It's not something that can't be tested. It absolutely can be, and it should be. It's an important thing to test. And so once you realize like, wow, I really resonate with this person in my soul, then you can, look at Jeff and Shalia's body of work and the teaching and begin to really see and reveal whether or not your twin flame, or whether or not that person is your twin flame. So it's kind of like, think about it like when you have that deep resonance in your soul, it's like, it's a good indication that you want to go further and see what else is there. And then you can start going deeper and seeing like, is this actually my twin flame? And then you can find out for sure. You can confirm it scientifically. But hopefully this video just like kind of helps create that first filter, so to speak, so that you know whether or not to move forward and look deeper, or whether it's just a projection of the mind. This is also just, some good relationship advice, honestly, because I see it all the time. People of all ages even, really like wanting to see something in a partner, and they see what they want to see. And it's so important, especially with something like who you're going to be with and romantically in your life. It's such a huge decision in your life. I feel like it's really important to look at those attachments and really choose to let those go, so that you can see clearly the person in front of you and see if they actually are a match to you, when you're not trying to control or make them a match or try to tell yourself how you're a match, or you're not riding some high of everything feels so good, so it must be good. But instead, with twin flames, it's a very grounded thing. It's very soulful, it's very deep, it's very rich, it's very meaningful. A lot of times twin flames, because the intimacy is so profound, a lot of times twin flames can have actually a bit of trouble being close at first. And sometimes there's a bit of a spiritual journey to achieve the experience of more, the intimacy is there, but to like let yourself experience it. A lot of times soulmates or, just other people that you may be romantically interested in, it's a lot easier a lot of times to, get to ride that high, but it's just not going to have that depth to it. And so, yeah, with twin flames, through ascension and loving yourself, you do raise your vibration and you do feel more spiritually high, but you're not riding a high. You will achieve a higher state of consciousness, but you're going to do it from a very peaceful and grounded place because it's going to be real and authentic achievement spiritually. Whereas what a lot of people do with romantic relationships, I see this, like I said, I see this all the time. I can kind of spot it a mile away nowadays. But what a lot of people will do is just like really, want to feel good all the time. They want to be around this person because they feel good, and they believe that they make them feel good, and they do all these activities, and they want to invest heavily in it so that they can have more of what they believe is that good experience that they think that situation is giving them. With your twin flame, it's not about what you get. It's not about appearances. It's not about a high. It's about who you are inside. It's about honoring your soul. So it's a very different paradigm, very different set of priorities. And it's a very different place to look to find the truth. So that's how you can tell. That's kind of, just some things to look at, things to consider. Hopefully it can kind of serve as like a guiding post in your mind as you're exploring these things, to help you get clear. In my opinion, it's really worthwhile to do the grounded thing. It may not have that initial like high and everything is so great at first, but it's real and deep and meaningful. And the thing about a high like that is there's going to be a crash, because you didn't actually, Jeff and Shalia teach this, like you didn't actually achieve that high. You're just kind of like on a high. And so because you didn't actually spiritually achieve it vibrationally, you will crash from it. Whereas with your twin flame, you're not going to have that high experience at first, but you grow and cultivate a higher vibration, and you get to keep that forever. So like Jeff and Shalia, they've talked about how they're like very high all the time spiritually, like they experience a very high vibration all the time. But they don't ever crash from it, and it's very peaceful for them because they have truly and authentically achieved what they enjoy in their vibration. And so, it's a long-term approach. It's about the deep and the meaningful instead of the superficial, and like the surface and temporary experience. Twin flames, I see it like it's like an investment, and I see that it takes a very particular kind of person that wants that, and not everybody does, and that's okay. But some people are kind of at that point where like they feel like that's what they want. They want the investment. They're willing to invest in themselves spiritually and manifest their harmonious twin flame union, and they want to have that in their relationship. Whereas other people want other things, and that's okay. If you're exploring the twin flame path, it's something very important to look at and see what you want, because this is an ascension path. This is about loving yourself. This is about spirituality. This is about your soul and how God created you, and what really resonates on a soul level with you. And so it's a very different kind of priority than what I would say the great majority of people are looking for in a relationship. So I have no regrets. The twin flame journey has its challenges, but you always come out the other side and you feel amazing, and your vibration truly does raise, and you do feel incredible. And it's very sustainable, but just depends on what you want. Jeff and Shalia have said many times, if you just want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, this is not the path for you. But there's something so beautiful about twin flames. That's why everybody's talking about it. That's why it's kind of becoming a bit more popular nowadays, There's a reason. There's a reason why people are very fascinated by this topic, because, many people have met their twin flame and they are not disappointed. Let's put it that way. So, like I said, hopefully this kind of clears up the subject. I talked about this quite a bit. But hopefully it just kind of helps you. Like, what I really want to do in these videos is I want to point you to yourself and show you like what to look at and look for. when you're looking within. And so this isn't like, I'm never going to come in and be like, this is what it is for you, because obviously, first of all, it's YouTube. But second of all, that's kind of bulldozing and not helpful. As a coach, one of the things that we do, that Jeff and Shalia do for us, which is, the way to heal and help people, is we want to see people come to these awarenesses for themselves and to really experience things for themselves and to stand in their own power. And so hopefully this stuff just kind of helps you reflect in the ways that would be helpful for you on your journey. So yes, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, if you found it helpful in any way, please do give it a thumbs up. It really does help me share this video with more people. If you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. And all the resources are down beneath this video. Let me think if there's anything else I need to say here. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys have a beautiful week, and take some time and process and check in with yourself about what you value and what you want romantically. And just kind of let these thoughts kind of be a guiding post for you and help you explore. And I'll see you in the next video.